In Barbados, Prime Minister PM Mottley presented the 2023 national budget proposal. In Ecuador, the National Assembly unanimously approved lifting the confidentiality status of information provided in investigations into corruption cases involving President Lasso. And in Malawi, authorities report nearly 200 dead after tropical Cyclone Freddy ripped through southern Africa for the second time in a month. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. Barbados Prime Minister PM Mottley delivered Tuesday the 2023 national budget proposal from the floor of Parliament. The Prime Minister elaborated on the purpose and aim of the new budget and the transformation the government seeks to accomplish in the Barbadian society.
And sir, this is what this budget seeks to do, to give effect to that promise we made in the Covenant of Hope on page 26. Empowering all Barbadians, delivering dignity and opportunity for all is what this government is here to do. And indeed, sir, it is also my personal mission in or out of government. And who, you may ask, is this transformation for? Sir, it is for all Bajans, all. To assure our young people, in particular, that it is possible for them to have a bright future in Barbados and not just on this planet. And who will it involve? It will be a national exercise involving every man, woman, and child who wants to step up to the plate. Every person, every Bajan, and indeed all those who love Barbados.
Furthermore, PM Mottley highlighted that in spite of small national sales, they are a big player in the economic world.
Despite our small national size, makes us a big player internationally and a big ocean state. Mr. Speaker, my work and that of my cabinet, which is done when we are on duty, sometimes have to travel outside of Barbados, is undertaken for the purpose of creating the new global Barbados.
Additionally, the Prime Minister also presented some measures to be implemented during the process of national transformation.
Mr. Speaker, I therefore want to urge now that this government in the process of national transformation will do a number of things. One, we are going to have a comprehensive program to train supervisory management staff for improved management, improved productivity, accountability, and transparency, so that we may equip supervisors and managers with skills that are beneficial and transferable.
Ecuador's National Assembly unanimously approved the lifting of the confidentiality regarding the information provided by the Superintendency of Companies and the Presidency's logbook as part of the investigations into the so-called Gran Padrino case. Legislators stated that the investigations are conducted under the principle of full transparency, so all documents must be digitalized and made known to the 137 legislators, so that each one of them initiates the corresponding process according to their interpretation of the information. The parliamentarians also informed that once the documents have been received, the names of those involved in the case will be made public. They confirmed that the evidence could support a political trial against President Guillermo Lasso. The Ecuadorian National Police reveals that the country broke the violence record before the end of the fourth quarter of 2023. According to the police report, 1,151,000 people were murdered from January 1st to March 13th across the nation, 424 of which were registered in the Metropolitan District of Guayaquil, which is considered the epicenter of homicides since 2022. This territory made up the municipalities of Guayaquil, Duran, and San Borondón in the coastal province of Guayas, has been the object of a large number of complaints by business owners and small traders who claim to have been victims of kidnappings. The people of Ecuador are demanding urgent, comprehensive public policies from the government of President Guillermo Lasso to address this violent situation. In Ecuador, also, labor unions called for a march on Wednesday to protest against the government of President Guillermo Lasso. The president of the Workers' Unitary Front, Marcela Arellano, pointed out that the mobilizations is part of the fundamental human rights and indicated that the protest is called at a time when the nation is in a state of vulnerability due to what they call governmental ineptitude to face the social and economic problems that the South American country is experiencing. The workers' leader rejected the accusations of the opposition regarding possible destabilization caused by the protests. In her opinion, it is the executive which generates greater instability due to the absence of social investments, thus making the citizens bear the burden of the economic, political, and security crisis. In Mexico, the director of the Social Security Institute and head of the IMS's Bienestar Health Plan, Zoe Robledo, announced an extension of the hiring of Cuban doctors and a call for national retirees. At President Andrés Manuel López Obrador's press conference dedicated to the subject of health, Robledo explained how the process of modernizing medical care is advancing in search of efficiency levels equivalent to those of countries at the forefront of health. The executive mentioned the strategic agreement with Cuba that supports the health plan with the assistance of specialists in almost 80 municipalities in several states. Robledo revealed that the number of Cuban specialists in the country will be increased to 610 and highlighted the high professionalism of the island's doctors. He also called on 27,398 retired Mexican specialists to join the Bienestar Health Plan. Let's take a short break, but first remember you can follow us on TikTok at the account of teleSUR English, in which you'll be able to see news in different formats, news updates, and much more. Other stories coming up. Stay with us. Welcome back from the South. The Argentinian International Solidarity and Human Rights Mission has submitted a report on serious human rights violations committed in Peru concerning the death of dozens of people from police repression.
After more than a month of hard work, the Argentinian International Solidarity and Human Rights Mission has collected evidence and testimonies which have led them to conclude that the current Peruvian administration has committed crimes against humanity.
The first thing that needs to be clearly established is that here there was a regime, a government that decided to send the national police to perpetrate a massacre against the people of Juliaca. That's why we say in the report that we were able to verify that the Peruvian government under Boluarte, along with the armed forces and the national police, has committed crimes against humanity.
For lawyer and former General Attorney Julio Arbizu, the work of international mission is valuable because it has gathered first-hand information that will help bring about justice.
Their report contains evidence that the General Attorney doesn't have. So it will be very important that the conclusions of this report are in the hands of the prosecutor's office so that we may have a real chance at justice being made. And if not, the case would have to be brought before an international court.
Distrust in the Peruvian justice system is growing, so the relatives of the victims of Juliaca think it might be necessary to take this case to international instances, such as the Inter-American Court of Human Rights.
We want them to step in. They should know that in Peru, we no longer have justice. The whole judiciary system is corrupt and there is no justice for us. So we've asked for their support. We have invited Amnesty International and the United Nations. We have given them our testimony and we want to be heard in other countries as well.
For some members of the international mission, repression stems from economic interests.
This process of repression is part of a strategy to weaken democracies, of an offensive against the poorest, and basically of the interest of external powers to expropriate natural resources.
For some, the only way out of the crisis might be international pressure.
Just talking about the immediate crisis, not about the structural crisis which is the reason behind the present situation. leaves only one alternative: the international community. The visibility these deaths at the hands of the police and the army may have abroad, and that they may exert pressure to first stop the brutal repression ordered by the government of Boluarte, and second, so that the demands of the population may be taken into account.
Now we can only hope this report to be sent to international instances so that the justice can be made and the country may find a way out of the present crisis.
The European Union proposed a reform of the electricity market to try to replace the use of gas that was supplied by Russia. The initiative is proposed by the European Commission and seeks to accelerate the production of non-fossil renewable energies. The proposal raises the possibility that citizens can invest in wind and solar farms to achieve an ecological transition into the generation of energy. This position of the European Union comes in the midst of the hydrocarbon crisis that the region is going through after imposing strong restrictions on Russian energy. Syrian President Bashar al-Assad arrived in Moscow to formalize with his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin an agenda of joint cooperation between both countries. The Syrian head of state was received at Moscow's Vnukovo International Airport by Deputy Foreign Minister Mikhail Bogdanov, who is also a special representative for the Russian president. The Kremlin confirmed that Putin and al-Assad will meet on Wednesday to discuss bilateral cooperation between both countries. The leaders are expected to discuss also current issues as well as further cooperation in the political, commercial, economic and humanitarian spheres. Russian President Vladimir Putin said on Tuesday that a ship owned by the energy giant Gazprom discovered evidence of a possible explosive device on one of the Nord Stream gas pipelines. In an interview with the Rossiya 1 television channel, Putin revealed that the ship discovered a pillar in one of the pipe joints about 30 kilometers down the pipeline. According to experts, it could be an antenna for the detonation of an explosive device that could be planted under the pipeline system. The Russian president denied that a pro-Ukrainian group could be behind the sabotage of the gas pipelines, adding that such an act can only be carried out by specialists backed by the full power of a state. President Putin considers that the project still has a future if the European countries show interest in restoring it. The Russian Ministry of Defense reports that its country neutralized on Sunday 440 Ukrainian military units as part of its special military operation. The ministry also reported 110 Ukrainian casualties in the Krasnolimansky region, where the Russian troops destroyed 2 pickup trucks and a self-propelled artillery piece. The report also says that 190 Kiev soldiers as well as 3 tanks and mechanized armored vehicles were eliminated in the direction of Donetsk. The Ministry of Defense concluded that in total 400 Ukrainian planes and 220 helicopters were shot down. teleSUR English continues to grow. You can now tune in from 33 different African countries through StarSat, dial 461, and enjoy Latin American alternative broadcasts. One final short break, and we'll be right back, so don't go away. Welcome back from the south. Nearly 200 people are now confirmed dead in Malawi after the devastating tropical cyclone Freddy ripped through southern Africa for the second time in a month. The rain continues to fall and overwhelm rescue workers struggle to find both the dead and survivors in the mud, and the death toll is expected to rise. There has been extensive damage to infrastructure and homes. Power and communications are still down in many affected areas, and an estimated of 19,000 people have been displaced by the heavy rains that trigger floods and mudslides. The United Nations said the lack of power and communication is hindering aid operations and with most of affected regions still inaccessible, the full extent of the damage remains unknown. The NGO fears that the number of cholera cases will increase in the country, which is already struggling with the deadliest infectious disease it has ever known.
That we have confirmed that they have lost their lives, but quite a number of them that are missing. And this demands that all of us come in and support. People have been displaced, thousands and thousands, in all the 10 districts. Palombe.
We received a lot of rain around lunch hour, and this resulted in a flash flood from the hill, which swept away a lot of people, including my father, my sister, and 2 girls. This means that 4 people of my family are still missing as they are buried in the mud.
Mozambique's Disaster Management Institute confirmed on Tuesday that Cyclone Freddy has killed 20 people in the country and destroyed 1,900 houses in the coastal province of Zambezia, while tens of thousands of people are still living in shelters. The UN Weather Center on Reunion Island said Freddy is expected to continue battering central Mozambique and southern Malawi with extreme rainfall before it returns to sea Wednesday afternoon. The weather agency is determining whether Freddy has already broken the 31-day record set by Hurricane John in 1994, in which case it could be the longest tropical cyclone ever recorded. In southwestern Somalia, at least 5 people have been killed and 11 wounded, including a governor, in a suicide bombing. The attack was not immediately claimed, but eyes are on the Shabab and Al-Qaeda affiliated group that regularly carries out suicide bombings in the poor and volatile Horn of Africa country. A police commander stated that a suicide bomber drove an explosive-laden vehicle into a guest house in Bardera, where government officials were staying. The officials included Gedo Governor Ahmed Bule Garet and several military commanders. The explosion destroyed most of the building and 5 security personnel were killed. In addition, 11 others were injured, including the governor, without giving further details on the severity of the injuries. The Chinese government describes as hypocritical the declarations of the AUKUS alliance on the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Agreement. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman Wang Wenbin recalled that the AUKUS leaders began on Monday the implementation of a 3-phase plan to deliver nuclear-powered submarines with non-nuclear weapons to Australia. Wenbin said that with such actions, the leaders of the alliance break their international obligations and undermine peace and stability in the region and the world, calling their statements hypocritical. According to the official, the delivery of weaponry to Australia constitutes a threat of proliferation of nuclear arms and violates the objectives of the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty.
The Asia-Pacific region is the region of the world with the most vitality and fastest growth. This is an extremely precious situation. China urges the 3 countries to listen attentively to the demands of the international community and regional countries, abandon outdated Cold War zero-sum mentality and narrow geopolitical concepts, effectively fulfill international obligations, and avoid taking actions that harm regional and global peace and stability.
As part of the activities carried out by the Syrian people to alleviate the effects of the earthquake of February 6 on the lives of the families affected, a bazaar of handicrafts was inaugurated in Damascus, the proceeds of which will be used to support the inhabitants of the affected areas. From Damascus, our correspondent Hisham Wano sends the following report.
The event is part of the preparations for the celebration of Mother's Day. This day is celebrated in Syria and the Arab world on 21st March. The women entrepreneurs who took the opportunity to show off their handmade products did it not for their own benefit, to overcome the consequences of war and blockade, but for the benefit of their compatriots in the earthquake-stricken provinces.
In this particular bazaar, all the revenues will be destined to the families affected by the earthquake, because many people have been left homeless and have lost all their belongings. and our duty is to help them overcome this difficult situation, which we are trying to do through the work we are exhibiting in this bazaar.
This is where we sell a variety of homemade products, the revenue of which are usually used to support women victims of war. This time, however, the funds will go to those affected by the earthquake, and we hope that our contribution will help alleviate their suffering.
The bazaar, which lasts 3 days, offers a wide range of foods, including clothing, carpets, traditional sweets, typical food based on natural ingredients, women's accessories, copper utensils, blown glass, and carved wood, among others. The products are handmade and can compete with industrial production in terms of quality and price, thus not only helping to promote the family economy but also contributing to the preservation of the old trades that characterize the country's ancient culture.
Syrian women have suffered a lot. They have suffered the loss of their children, the effects of the economic blockade, and now the effects of the earthquake. But they do not give up and continue working, not only to support their family, but also to help other families through these projects of social solidarity.
In the current circumstances of crisis in the country, Syrian women play a decisive role to get ahead, because the war has taken away a large number of men who make up the society, which is why women enter fully into the labor market, managing to overcome the difficulties with their creativity and their feminine and sentimental intelligence.
Women in Syria constitute the most active half of the society. This has been demonstrated during the long years of war as the main pillar of the family and is now being demonstrated in the current difficult circumstances in which the country, in addition to the repercussions of the devastating earthquake of last February 6, is the victim of unprecedented Western economic terrorism.
teleSUR,
We have come to the end of this news briefing. You can find these and many other stories on our website, telesurenglish.net. You can also join us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For teleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.